So we want to just welcome everybody to Conversations with Bishop Christopher and Overseer Crystal McQueen. This is something that we're going to work on and perfect as we go along. We do have some things that we have on the agenda, and we will get to those. We want you to enjoy yourself and enjoy what we're offering. This right here is just I don't want to say a test run, but we are working some kinks out. So please overlook any of the perceived mistakes, and let's get to some of the other things that will help us to really do this and go forward in excellence.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
We want to be able to address situations and circumstances that have two sides to them. As I said, a dialectic is having a discussion that allows both parties to speak without formulating an outcome. In other words, I don't formulate an opinion. We just keep producing, if you will, information into it. But each time that we introduce something into it, what it does is it broadens our understanding of the topic as a whole. So the job that we have in conversations is not to give opinion, but to have the discussion and present the sides that may, if you will, be controversial to one side, but help the other side to understand and help this side to be able to articulate to them, this is what we have a problem with. I hear certain things that people say and I listen to and I'm like, why is that a problem? Why is that an issue? And to them, they're like, oh my God. To me, it's like, So I want to understand, why is this such a fire starter? You know, what is really going on with this that causes you to, up in arms and ready to circle the wagons to protect it,
In my humblest opinion, I believe why some topics or some challenges or some topics are fire starters versus others is because of what we've been taught or what we've experienced.
Right.
And that determines our belief systems.
Right.
That changes our trajectory of whatever we're going to, sway left or right. If I was pregnant and it became like everything just blew up in my face. I was hammered with the religious side. I was hammered with, you don't believe in abortions. I was hammered with, if I was really, made to feel a certain kind of way. And depending on where I was emotionally or mentally, even at that time, it impacted me greatly, which then allowed me to form my opinions or my beliefs and perspectives. So when somebody else talks about it, then I'm standing up, this will never happen because I remember. Because if you notice some of the biggest rallies, you'll find out it happened to somebody. And they'll say, I promised it, and maybe promise to myself this will never happen to somebody else.
Right.
And then they champion that.
Right. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure it never happens to someone else. But in order for you to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else, you have to go back to the person who did it to you to start with.
Correct.
And understand things from those perspectives. There's no reason for me to understand that nobody should ever stop. While you're doing that, you can't circumvent what will happen to another if you don't know why it happened to you to start with. What was it that really pushed that person to do what they did? And we're not talking about sexual, we're talking about people who became the mean girl at school, the bully at school, or whatever it was. We find that people at work who are overbearing may not have any control at home. And the only place that they have any say-so that they can enforce is at work. So now you go to work and you're trying to figure out why your boss is so intolerable. Well, they're that way because at home they're henpecked, they're ostracized, they're nobody at home. You're here for the function that you perform, and outside of that, you have no voice, you have no say. So when you get to work, everybody's going to listen to me. Everybody's saying you micromanage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before you deal with the fact that you're being micromanaged, let's go back to the other situations, those influencing factors that exist that cause the problem. So we have to really look at the external, your support system. There are things that we are never taught that are society norms or societal norms. And if you don't know that because you live in a subculture of a society, you know the rules and the behaviors of your subculture, but you still don't know the norms of the society it exists in. So, I mean, we still have problems because we have lack of communication. And when people have perspectives and assumptions, then they will go off of what they perceive and believe and never have the conversation that brings them to clarity and understanding. But we don't talk about these things. And these are the conversations we need to have. We need to have them, especially because in our congregation, people are dealing with the outcomes of those conversations we never had. And then they're at the altar and they're crying out and they're asking God for vengeance. And we're asking God, Lord, what do we do here?
Not just asking for vengeance, but forgiveness.
Yeah.
And the condemnation that comes with it. And how you respond to relationships thereafter. You know, what do you call a healthy relationship? I see so many women and men as well that want to marry. You know, a lot of them are at the age where they're like, they want that significant person, but they're finding they can't seem to find anybody. And the ones that they do find are garbage. You know, they end up being garbage. And some of the stories that I would hear.
Well, let's just say not a good fit.
As they say, yeah, not a good fit. So,
not a good fit.
So some of them that would say not a good fit, and they would give examples, you know, of what happened. You're like, whoa, how can we, because we are opposite sex, and women have come up a long way where everybody's not in the kitchen anymore with the bare feet, with the barefoot and getting pregnant. A lot of women are making money, raising children, you know, becoming entrepreneurs and becoming successful, but still want a relationship. And then you have a relationship with a man that may not be, you know, if he may be on that level, but he may be, and he may not be on that level, but he's supplying for you what you need. How do you make those balances? Because some women like, girl, if he's not bossing, why are you with him? If he don't have this, but he provides this, you know, for me. So those are, you know, a lot of conversations that definitely need to be had.
This right here that we're doing now, though, is just really trying to give an oversight of what conversations is. I want people to know that this is a safe place for them to ask the question. No one's going to jump in and tell you you're wrong. You know, from gender dysphoria to, you know, how do you take care of those relationships? Because I think one of the big problems, and of course, you know, as a former law enforcement officer, I would have these young men who love the female, but he was taught that love jumps on you. You know, so he loves for real and doesn't want to hurt, but he's trying to show that he's a man, and she's trying to show that she's the boss and controlling, and he ain't no man if he ain't running and get me this, that, and that. So we have sugaring, we have all this other stuff that is out here. The reason why people can't find people is because people have not been prepared to be found. I know you and I have about 30 years in our marriage. So when we start dealing with coaching and mentoring and dealing with marriage relationship issues and, you know, how to deal with all of that, we're able to do so because we have 30 years of experience of knowing the ins and outs of what a real marriage is. And, you know, I still love you too. So, those things are important because young people say, I want to have what y'all have, but they're not ready to go through what we went through. All of these topics, like I said, we don't want to go into giving you our opinion, but we can share our experience with you and what we actually have ran into what is it that we have lived? Being pastors since 2002, before that, co-pastors and music directors and working and all the all the stuff that we did, serving bishops and the like. And so we just have a vast experience and knowledge based on life and being in ministry so long. But I think for those who are listening and watching, you're going to understand that this is conversations that are going to be interesting. And I will say this, I am not crazy and unaware. Everybody's going to have an opinion. What we're striving to do is not give you opinionated conversation, but to have an open dialogue that leads to greater conversations. Again, a dialectic allows us to have those conversations without formulating opinions.
Right.
I don't want to get to that's the answer and that's it.
Right.
No, because then we shut out at that point other things that may influence a different outcome. Because once you put the tunnel vision on, nothing lives outside the tunnel. So we want to make sure that it's an open forum, it's an open conversation that we have, and
So we're not looking for answers, we're looking for awareness.
Right, awareness
and more insight
and dialogue. The first thing that happens when you have two warring or opposing factors is that they have to come to the table for negotiations. So if we can get to the table, we can stop the bloodshed on the battlefield.
That's true.
And that is important. Let us talk, and you can't come to the talk with an opinionated view, because then there's no reason for you to be here.
That's true.
Which is why we're still dying on the battlefield. So we have to be able to come to the table and have the conversation without formulating an opinion, so that we can understand, do we have a misunderstanding
or disagreement,
or do we have a disagreement? And you can't deal with conflict negotiation and mediation if you don't understand what we're actually mediating or negotiating for.
Right.
So we can resolve the conflict. If I realize that we have a misunderstanding, then we can give clarity through dialogue of what was not understood. If we have a disagreement, which means I fully understand what you say, I just don't agree with it, then we can deal with things to mitigate the conflict. Okay, well, we understand you're not going to like this, and we don't like it either, but this is what we're going to do so that we can live together without bloodshed. And that's what peace agreements come from. That's how we actually set up different things that will help organizations survive together without strife and conflict, so that both can actually grow. They can thrive, because you understand your competition. Doing SWOT analysis, when you go out, you need to know your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that means that if you're having conversations with different ones, you understand when you see an opportunity, you can also realize your threat. Based on your weakness or your strength, you know how to address it and how to move forward.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think we look at that enough when we're dealing with everyday living. And just the mindsets. And just being able to even to address the mental health that even goes on with just every day, because we're so bombarded with people's opinions. It's conspiracy theories, and not getting all off into that, going down that road. But I really believe we get in, it is a strategic plan to, especially now with the times that we're living in, and with social media and everything that is out there, which can be used in a positive manner or a negative manner, as we both know. And those, pushing the idea, if I continuously put something before you constantly, it's going to embed itself subconsciously.
Right. So it's a strategic plan by the enemy to actually deal with embedding something. We always talk about Genesis 3, and I always go back there. The serpent never brought the fruit, didn't even bring a leaf from the tree. Had a conversation.
That's all it takes.
And if you have the conversation,
And more than one.
Right, as you said, this couldn't have been a one-time conversation that she ran off with. This was constant conversation that led to the guard being brought down, desensitizing to anything that would cause my hair on the back of my neck to stand up. And that conversation led to a question. The question led to a curiosity. Right. Curiosity led to investigation, and ultimately to execution. She grabbed and took and ate, and then she offered. So your opinion that you get can turn around and be offered to others and poison the mind of and cause outcomes that are unexpected.
And whatever our mind is, whatever a man thinketh, so is he.
So is he.
So whatever I'm constantly,
as a man thinks,
as I'm constantly ingesting, and whatever I'm constantly ingesting will come out in every area of my life.
Right.
Consciously or unconsciously.
Right. Principle one place manifests in the fullness or the wholeness of the individual. So if men are dogs, then when you go to church, the pastor who's the man is a dog, and you get to work, your boss is a dog, and that dude that drove down the street that looked at you, ugh, why are you looking at me? You're a dog. So, yeah, when we talk about conversations, we want to make sure that people know that these will more than likely be controversial things that we will talk about and look at, but we want to do so in a healthy and a safe environment so as not to belittle anyone or to throw anyone under the bus, per se. However, I will say this as well. I am a man of God, you are a woman of God, and there's a biblical worldview that we have. And not only biblical worldview, a Christian worldview. I believe what Jesus Christ said. And every time they would bring an accusation of Christ, he found a way to mitigate it into salvation. And so we have to understand that the compassion of Christ has to lead our conversations.
Yes.
And if you don't have compassion, then you'll deal with things that other people are picking up stones with, and you'll pick up a stone too. We're not here to pick up the stone. But let's look at how we can influence the soul that needs to be saved by not stoning it and get clarity.
I agree.
All right. This here will be something where we can actually talk to you and you can talk to us, and we can come up with some things that will help us as a whole to have some conversations that lead to some outcomes that will be beneficial to everyone. Tell somebody else about it. We are setting up the time and because we want you to catch us, okay? I don't know when they're coming on. Yes, we're going to work all that stuff out, and we're going to look at it. I'm working on my doctoral degree, and of course, the work that we do with the ministry and our organization, Kingdom Convergence Fellowship, there's just a lot that's going on. But I know that this is God's time for us to have these conversations. So I'm here for it.
Me too.
Yeah, this is going to be really good.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's going to be really good. We love you with the love of the Lord, and we'll see you for our next conversation.